So yesterday, we left off or we stopped a discussion at a point where we were trying to understand that the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a very appropriate shelter for souls that are distressed because of material conditionings. And all of this was in the context of the Supreme Lord performing the pastime of establishing the worship of Govardhan hill. So yesterday, or repeating a point from yesterday, we would like to begin by saying that this festival was personally established by the Supreme Lord himself. Before Krishna beginning this festival, there was no festival called as Govardhan Puja in any Panchang. So Krishna established this festival. He said that we must worship a hill because this hill is a true benefactor to all of us. Imagine tomorrow if somebody claims to be God and says that we must go and worship a hill in Allegheny. It would take a lot of faith, isn't it? But Krishna was not being whimsical. He had good reasons to establish the worship of Girirajji. So how did it all begin? The Srimad Bhagavatam describes that Krishna and Balaram, along with their friends, the Gopas, the cowherd boy friends, they had accepted the offerings of the sacrifice of the Brahmanas. In reciprocation to the prayers of the wives of the Brahmanas. So they had just participated in a typical Vedic sacrifice in the events that correspond to a Vedic sacrifice, the Brahmana Yajna. So he comes home and then he sees that all the cowherd men, including his father Nanda Baba, are making preparations for an elaborate function. So he asks them, what is the function about? And they say, oh, we are going to do a sacrifice to satisfy Lord Indra. So Krishna is, okay, the Brahmanas are also performing sacrifices. It seems that even in my own home, people are interested in doing sacrifices. So maybe there are well-meaning reasons to why they are doing the sacrifice. So he asked his father, Why are you worshipping Lord Indra? So Krishna is about 7 years old right now. So his father is like, and maybe Nanda Maharaj is thinking that did Krishna go to an ISKCON Vedic school or something like that? So Nanda Baba, in his own affectionate way, he says that because Indradev provides us rains, and since generations we've been doing a sacrifice, therefore. So Krishna is, Baba, can you really explain to me as to what is the importance of this sacrifice? Why is it necessary to do the sacrifice? I mean, just because the previous generations would ride bicycles and we have automobiles now, doesn't mean that we are going to start riding bicycles again. So, he did not use that example like bicycles and automobiles. How do I relate to this in my generation? Ananda Baba keeps quiet. So Krishna tells him that this is not very good. Either you know the reasons as to why the sacrifice has to be performed, or you don't know the reasons. So either you say you know or you don't know. So if you're keeping quiet, there is a possibility that you don't know. Hence, I would like to state that if you don't know why you should be doing a sacrifice, then one should never perform any activity in ignorance. Because such an activity, the results of such an activity typically bring you problems and issues. Rather, you should do things in knowledge. Because when you work in knowledge, then you are aware of the results and you perform the work accordingly so that you can achieve the results. Like I am from India. Like I grew up in India. So graduation year, especially when you, like here, when you graduate from high school and you go to college, you need your SAT scores, isn't it? Or the ACT scores. In India, when in our generation, we used to prepare for certain entrance exams. One of them that was most cherished, even if you feel you're up to it or not, it was still cherished, was the IIT JEE entrance exams. Yeah, those from India. So me and some of our friends, some of us, this is about, let's say what, maybe 30 plus years ago, something like that, 35 years ago, 30 plus, not 35, yeah, 30 plus years ago, close to 35. So we did not have the internet as you know of it today. True. I did not know of the internet when I was preparing for my college admission. It's true, Shansi. After I graduated, I was almost graduating from college. That is when we had that huge Bakasura-like processor. It should be so huge. .NET. These are the days of, I think it was 1.5 something floppy disks. floppy disks. And it would take a while for the system to process, but still it was faster than the typewriter. Right? So IIT JEE exams. Most of us had no idea what we were getting into. So on the day of the exams, some of our friends were like, yeah, let's just sit for the exam. I think it was a 3-hour exam. And the answer to the first question would be needed to attempt the second question. And there were like about 20 questions that you had to answer in 3 hours. Many of us did not get through the first question, least prepared for it. But it's not that we consider ourselves to be ignorant fools, or we consider ourselves to be less intelligent or unread. No, we just weren't prepared. So Krishna is kind of telling Nanda Baba, if you're going to sacrifice without actually knowing what is it for, in the first 15 minutes of the 3-hour examination, you'll realize that for the next 2 hours and 45 minutes, you're just going to be doodling there. But if you're aware of what is needed, then you will be using every single moment of your time to achieve your result. So Nanda Baba then gave him certain reasons. Krishna counteracted that, and he said that better than worshipping Indradev, we should worship Govardhan. Nanda Baba said, if Krishna, if that is your desire, we'll worship Govardhan hill too. Krishna said, no, too. Instead of worshipping Lord Indra, we worship Govardhan hill. On this, it took a lot of courage to reinvent traditional practices. Just imagine doing kirtan without harmonium. You'll have to reinvent yourself. Try to do that, lila. One session. Just clap on the speed. That is how Prabhupada would do, I guess. It's so difficult. Mridanga Karta, he didn't even have a Mridanga. I don't know what drum he was playing. It was some kind of drum, Tompkins Square Park. The bongo. Can you imagine playing the bongo? He did it. Traditional practices, reinventing it. Needs courage, needs conviction. And this is Krishna. Krishna had to convince Nanda Baba, so he convinced Nanda Baba. Now, Indradev wasn't happy, so he sent rains. But devastating rains. So then Krishna said, well, challenges are situations in which scientists thrive. Inventors, they love that challenge. So let me invent something new. So yesterday we mentioned that, right? What did he patent? That a hill can be used as an umbrella. Never done before, never done afterwards. Now, Hanumanji lifted a hill, others did that. But no one used it as an umbrella. Krishna did it. And it gave shelter to all the residents of Brajadham. But the rains would not stop, and the rains were accompanied by heart-wrenching sounds of thunder and really fearful lightning. Not just rains. Like it was, is it called four system Dolby or something like that? Four speaker Dolby system or something? So it was something like that, that effect. It was resounding. Imagine going into a cave and doing kirtan. You know how the sound resonates? So this is under this huge hill. So it was not pitter patter rainfall. It was very scary. Plus the mountain on top. And just Krishna's little finger holding it up. Well, it's very reassuring to know that there is paneer sabji in prasad. Very reassuring. But someone whispers in your ear that such and such XYZ devotee has prepared, and you know that this devotee does not know how to cook paneer prasad, paneer properly. But paneer is paneer. We'll try to have a go at it, but we'll most probably approach it very gingerly. The first bite is like, well, it does taste like paneer sabji. And the more we gain confidence, the more we start feeling comfortable. So 7 days and 7 nights. Just imagine the level of comfort that the residents of Vrindavan are getting into. If you have a really melodious kirtan, like really very melodious kirtan going on, slowly as it picks up pace, do you feel more comfortable? Do you feel yourself getting into the kirtan? Supposing the kirtan just stops and as it is picking up pace, somebody says, okay, finish. How does it feel? It's very abrupt. As you are getting into the kirtan and you're feeling immersed in the kirtan, you lose sight of time. And many a times, such music, such kirtan keeps you spellbound for hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. And everyone is, the mridanga is turning a little red tinge because their hands are cracked up. The kartas you have burns on your fingers because you've been going on for hours. The singer is like, after every mantra is sipping on some drink so that the throat is not parched, feeling parched. You've never been to such kirtan, right? Well, I was saying where conditions apply. The fine print is that you lose awareness of time. Now the audience loses awareness. I wasn't speaking about just the person singing. The audience loses awareness of time. Everyone's very excited, it goes on for hours. It slowly grows on you. The performance grows on you. So when we are speaking of 7 days and 7 nights under Giriraj Hill, the comfort, the reassurance, the shelter that the residents of Vrindavan are feeling is increasing moment by moment. And it would seem that it has reached a peak and they would touch another peak after that. Yeah. Now, the great saintly personalities who comment on such events, they call this as taste or mellow. We read of it, that is how they describe it. How many of you all have been binge watching certain episodes of some dramas? Have you ever spent binge watching something? Hours binge watch? You know what's binge watch? They dump some 11 episodes on you, and every episode is left at a cliffhanger space, and you're like, I cannot eat, I cannot go to the washroom right now. I just need to know what happens next, and you're into the next episode. The artistic attempt of capturing your emotions is very interesting because that attempt grows on you as the audience. So this is when Krishna is lifting up the hill. Giriraj Puja is an event before that. Since yesterday we covered about how, we were talking about how the hill served as a perfect shelter for the residents for almost 7 days and 7 nights, a total of 7 days and 7 nights. How is it that all of their attention was not just maintained on Krishna, but they found it to be ever increasing? What is it that makes such flow of emotions possible? Where does any individual existence find such potency? Now, one thing we can state is that Krishna as a Supreme Lord can make you do it. But on the other hand, we also realize that we are not robots. We are not mechanical beings. We are conscious beings. We are not programmed beings. Right? We are evaluating beings, and therefore we are blissful. Programmed beings cannot be blissful, because if bliss is programmed, they'll only experience the bliss that has been programmed into them. But those who have the capacity to evaluate, assimilate, can really be blissful. Is this true? Let's suppose there's a military regimen here. Everyone takes prasad, 2 spoonfuls of paneer sabji and just 1 small piece of paneer in it, which is 2 mm by 2 mm in size. Now, if you're programmed for it, all right, stand at ease, attention, pick up the spoon, pour yourself 2 helpings, but just 1 piece of paneer. You'll do it. And if you're asked, how does it feel? How's the Josh? Hi, sir. How do you feel about it? Excited, sir. Because that is what you're programmed to do. But if you're allowed the freedom to evaluate and assimilate. You'll be like, can I have a few more pieces of paneer, please? Isn't it? Let me really taste it. The texture, flavor. Let me try and do it. So, although Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he is by nature very attractive. Unless and until we have the potency to feel that attraction, and the attraction has to constantly increase. That is insane potency. Hence, the scriptures say, Uttishta, Hare Krishna, Jagrata. Sorry. Uttishta, that command. Stand up. Wake up. Scriptures, the Upanishad. They kind of provoke us. Uttishta, Jagrata, Prapya Varani Bodhata. This benediction is available to experience the innate potency of being attracted to Krishna is there in each and every living entity. And when that attraction is really aroused in the living entity, in front of the sparkle of Krishna's amazing attractive feature, everything else seems like broken pieces of glass. Broken pieces of glass. In the Upanishads, there is a call given to all living entities that all of you are Amrit Putra, which means all of us. Amrit Putra. We are supposed to be so, we are the young ones of powerful eagle. We are not supposed to be pecking at worms like the young ones of hens. The Upanishads are trying to inspire us to soar high up into the sky, fly high up into the sky. Hence, they call you the living entity as Amrit Putra. So, in this Govardhan lila pastime, these devotees are very, very inspired, motivated, excited, happy to be with Krishna for 7 days and 7 nights. So someone points out to the fact that if everything is so nice, are there no problems in their life? There are problems in their life. They cannot go home. They cannot leave the shelter of Govardhan hill. If they step outside the perimeter of the base of the hill, they would be completely crushed by the hail, the rain, struck by lightning. They could drown. So, no problems? Lots of problems. So typically the idea of shelter is, it's like Let's suppose there is some disaster and we are in the middle of that disaster, a hurricane or a storm, and there's devastation around us. Maybe for 12 hours, 24 hours, help cannot reach us. We somehow or the other hold on. But after 24 hours, help reaches us and brings us to a place of safety. Do you think a shelter is created within the eye of the storm? Or are people evacuated from there? People get evacuated. The residents of Vrindavan did not get evacuated. They were surrounded by danger. All they had to do was turn around and look at it. So something very, very magnetic was happening there. That would not allow them to turn around. That is what is the understanding of receiving the shelter of Krishna. Problems will be there. They'll be all around us. Do we have to navigate through the problems? Maybe. For the moment, we are, just as the residents of Vrindavan, we are completely blissful in the present. We are not sure of what will happen in the future because we are not thinking about it. If we actually analyze our present situation, then we are surrounded by problems. The rains, the hail. Miraculously, all of this is not affecting the residents of Vrindavan for a bit, because the shelter of Krishna gives that kind of reassurance. It's not momentary, it's not fleeting, it's just an experience that is so very intense that one is kind of stupefied or kind of completely zoned in under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is what Govardhan Puja is about. Or the Govardhan lila is about. Why is that the nature of the material world? We discussed yesterday, because that is the nature of the material world. There is no reason why. The why question is, why are we in the material world? That is an appropriate question. But why is the material world designed in a particular fashion, with particular qualities? It's not an appropriate question. It's not a very helpful question to ask. It's like, why are there so many restrictions in the prison? Not a very helpful question to ask. The helpful question is, why am I in the prison? Or what can I do about myself being in prison? But I think next time I'm going to vote for somebody who can make the prison a very comfortable place. Maybe we should change the constitution for that. No, those are not very helpful perspectives. It won't work. So the material world gives us opportunities to be miserable. And it's very fascinating how we jump at those opportunities. Do you jump at opportunities to be miserable? No?
When I don't know when to stop, that's it. Even if 30 gulab jamun in front of me.
Well, the stop sign says stop all the way. Do you think you always stop all the way? Don't you jump at opportunities to be miserable? Right? We find some kind of really insane pleasure in seeking out misery. There was no need for me to go in the dark, but I just took up the challenge. Why? I just wanted to experience the thrill of being scared. Do you have any idea what being scared does? What kind of chemicals it releases in your body? And what those chemicals do to you? What do you say?
Long term, it is yes, detrimental to health. But still, a lot of psychological studies done, and the people do still seek it out to experience that.
Pleasure can also give you a high. So we jump at those opportunities. So something needs to be understood, analyzed, and maybe rethought of how we approach situations in life. There was a short story. A person very devoted to God, like seriously devoted to God, would not consider eating any morsel of food that had not been properly offered to God. Like seriously properly offered to God. It's not like, okay, whatever mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Ram. Sorry, I'm sorry to put you on hold. Not that kind of offering, like every time very serious. A gentle person at heart. So whenever somebody would visit this person, he would offer to share his food with them, prasad with them. So one day a gentleman happens to visit him, and he says, "Please come, let me share my food with you." Oh, the gentleman is